and so they came in anyway, and I threw them out, and they jumped me after, and I was lucky to be alive after, because they didn't use any knives or nothing, but steel-toed boots and everything against the head. I rode my bike home, and I remember them jumping me, and that's all I remember.
All right, what's up, Phil?
What's up?
Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's just go ahead and why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us your name, branch of service, years you served, and the rank you got out as.
Okay, so Phillip Williams was in the Army, active duty as a combat tanker for 3 years, 2 of which in Germany and 1 in Fort Stewart. Got out after, did my 3 years, and then I did another 3 years in the National Guard as a draftsman. So then I got out after that for 4 years and was invited back in the reserves by a Corps of Engineer officer that they needed a draftsman on their team. So I was a construction inspector for another 6, and then I did 1 extra year in the Air Guard, and ended up at E5, and then got out 13 years service total. Didn't re-enlist because they were sending people to Haiti for a year in my unit, and I didn't have the desire to go to Haiti.
Yeah. Wow. Where were you born?
Kentucky.
In Kentucky.
Yeah.
And is that where you were raised?
Born and raised in Kentucky, coal mining town, cornfields, churches, and coal mines, pretty much. That was it. My dad was a preacher at one of the churches, one of the 7 churches in the town of 300 people. Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what your upbringing was like?
So I didn't, kind of interesting story. I didn't find out who my real dad was till age 10. My mom and dad divorced just before I was born. And my mom was running away from the small town we lived in for a long time. And so I thought my real dad was someone else. And then at age 10, I found out who my real dad was, and I had a family. I had a half brother, half sister, and then my dad, and that's kind of how I was brought up. Got a family that I wasn't aware of, and just decided at one point that the military was a path I wanted to take to get out of the small town I was in, because it was just coal mines, and pretty much coal mines or follow my dad's steps and be a preacher. Of course, he was a coal miner and a preacher.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't want to do that. So so I joined the Army to work with heavy equipment, ended up being a combat tanker.
Wow. What was it like for you when you found out, so you thought someone else was your dad, and then you found out you had a dad. What was that like for you? What kind of emotion did you have?
I tried to keep it short. My mom ended up marrying 5 different times. So it was, for me, it was not a good experience. It was moving around a lot, all over Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois. So I didn't grow up with up till age 10. That was what it was like for me. And then I had a debilitating disease from 4th grade on through 6th grade. My left leg was shrinking up, and I couldn't walk without crutches and pain. And they never did discover what it was. The doctors finally said that it was mental, because I couldn't figure it out. It had me in traction, did spinal taps, all that stuff, in the hospital for months, and I never did find it out. And then finally I discovered wrestling. You didn't ask me about that, but wrestling is what brought me out of the pain and made me able to grow the muscles and have a life with some normalcy. So that's when, and I discovered wrestling in Michigan. We moved away with one of my step-parents, but I got wrestling. Wrestling's big there, and then I moved back to Kentucky, and there's a whole bunch of story that goes along with wrestling. But yeah, that's what it was like for me. And when I married my wife, I told her I wasn't going to go through divorce as an adult. I did it as a child, so I'm not going to do it as an adult. So we've been married 32 years now.
Wow.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did wrestling become your life or something? Or that sounds like play a really important role in your upbringing?
Yeah, kind of an interesting story. How it started, I was in a fight because I was in Michigan, and it was a predominantly black neighborhood, and I was the only white kid in that school area, and so I was jumped because of my color every day, even though I was on crutches. And so I was fighting one day in the schoolyard, and wrestling coach came down and told us all we could join the wrestling team or go to the principal's office. So I joined the wrestling team and fell in love with it from then on. And of course, it did what it did for my leg. And then when I came to Savannah, I actually started. They only had 2 wrestling teams. They had they had Benedictine and Groves High School, and so I started Coastal Wrestling Official Association, and we grew wrestling in every school in Savannah.
Wow.
Did wrestle a little bit in the Army in Germany, but it was all freestyle on the side. I was a combat tanker, so we couldn't dedicate a lot of time to sports. So, yeah.
Wow. So, did you have any family that's military before you decided to enlist?
No, my dad was a Marine. He forbid me to join the Marine Corps. He said he'd break my spirit, so I didn't. I obeyed and didn't join the Marine Corps. I joined the Army, but that was pretty much the only path for me because I wasn't college material at that point. I wasn't grown up enough, and so the Army's. I'm very thankful for the military and the Army and how they helped me grow up and helped me with the issues I was having as having so many dads and all of that. It was like the Army became the discipline that I needed in my life and direction. And so I'm very, very thankful for my military career.
Awesome. What was it like going into boot camp for you?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved boot camp. That was the best experience of my life because I was a wrestler, and the PT was nothing in the 80s. I joined in 84. I really joined in 83, but started service in 84. And I just loved it. Max out all the PT tests, and I just love the head games. And I would have loved being a Marine, I think. I love the Army. I love the basic training. Favorite part.
Yeah. Where'd you go to boot camp?
Fort Knox. It was a basic AIT, all in one. Never trained on an M16, believe it or not. Just submachine gun, 45 and 105 millimeter, 50 cal, coax. Trained on those, but never an M16. You can't fit an M16 in it was the M60A3 is what it was. It wasn't M1. So, yeah.
Wow.
Rolling confident.
Where did you go after you graduated boot camp?
I have a lot of funny stories.
Let's hear them.
So I was the only one from my tank battalion to get off at a cav unit. So I got off at 3-8 cav in Germany in Coleman Barracks. The stucco was peeling off the walls, off the exterior, and I was the only one to get off the bus, the only one that called. I said, what did I do wrong? But it turned out to be a great experience for me. We were out in the field a lot, but I got to cross-train with Cav Scouts, and it made time go by faster. Like I say, I grew up and learned responsibilities, and I really did enjoy Germany. I love the beer. The mark rate was $4.60, four marks 60 penny to the dollar, and you could just have all kinds of fun in Germany.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did you stay in Germany for?
2 years.
2 years?
Two-ish, a little bit over 2 years, and then Fort Stewart in Hinesville, and came to Savannah. First night, I came to Savannah at nighttime, and I fell in love with Savannah. Spooky romantic is what I call it. Just very, at nighttime, you see the mossy trees and the architecture downtown, it's just very, very beautiful. Met my wife here. My whole career was here. So.
Did you ever have to deploy at all?
Never did deploy. Never did. See, what was a Desert Storm was going on when I was during that 4-year period when I had gotten out, and then of course it was over when I re-enlisted. So I never did see any combat, and thank God I didn't. You know,
Yeah.
I really feel for the guys that did, and guys and gals that did. I know a lot of them, and I think I'd be a different person today if I had to go through that.
Yeah. So it sounds like your military experience was a very positive experience, which, you know, for the most part, everybody I talk to, it is, you know, mostly positive, with, you know, little road bumps and stuff like you just mentioned. You know, seeing combat obviously will change you as a human.
Yeah.
Were you ever close to anybody that you've seen change because of that?
Close. No, I guess I haven't seen a personal change of that. I've seen after, you know, with the 40 Men and 8 Horses organization I'm part of, and the American Legion, I see a lot of it in there. And my heart does go out to veterans that, you know, are contemplating suicide. You know, I think that's a very avoidable thing that we can do, and support groups that you know, do things like you were telling me about the coffee on Saturday mornings. I think that's an excellent idea. I think sometimes people just need to you know, let them know that there's a place to reach out to rather than a phone. You know, I like that idea a lot.
Yeah. When you were stationed in Germany, I'm just curious, what was a typical workday like for you?
Well, the slogan back when I grew up in the military, which is really what I did, was we do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day, and that was indeed a fact. It was a cab unit. My first unit was a cab unit, and we were just all the time going. First thing, everybody had clean common areas. You know, you did a lot of cleaning. You made sure your boots were right. Everything was right under your bed. You know, it was old school. And just like you were trained in basic, it was that way all the time. It didn't really change that much from basic for me. And I was fine with that because I enjoyed basic. I liked that regimen. I didn't have it when I was growing up, so that regimen was nice for me, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then when we weren't in garrison, we'd be out in the field most of the time. And you know, I went from tank driver to loader and then gunner, and never was a tank commander, but it was gratifying to be able to fix something that you knew needed to be fixed on the tank, and there was always something that needed to be fixed on the tank. We had events we would go to in California. We'd train against the OP4 in California deserts, and my tank was one of the tanks that got it up and running faster than anybody else. We actually got an award for that, and did the best against the OP4. Nice. And so I really enjoyed that group of people coming together and making something, you know, special happen. That was a part of the military I really enjoyed.
Yeah, sounds like it. And then from Germany, you said, where did you say you went from there?
Fort Stewart, 1 year. This is the active duty part, the 1 year active, and we, you know, it was just training. It wasn't the same. It was a tank battalion unit, so it was totally different. It wasn't Cav Scout anymore. It wasn't Cav Scout / tanker. It was tanker, and so it was a lot different. It was, you know, not negative. I wouldn't say negative, but it was quite a bit more boring for me. I was used to all that constant stimulation training. You know, you're in Germany in the 80s. You still had Russia right there, and you had you know, that threat. But then when we came to Stewart, it wasn't that. So that's when I transitioned for the rest of my 6-year term to a draftsman position had opened up in the National Guard. because I've always drawn all my life. I've always been sort of an artist, and so I thought if that opportunity came up, I'd take it, and I did.
And this is where you stayed, huh?
Yeah, I became an architect after I got out of the military. I did take classes while I was in the military here at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, and then dropped off for a while, and then in late 90s I started going back to school for architecture, and then finished up master's in architecture and practiced architecture in Savannah for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it like for you transitioning out of the military?
For me, I wanted to keep that stimulation going, so I had 3 jobs. I was delivering pizza, working on yachts during the day, delivering pizzas in the evening, and on weekends, actually 4 jobs. I would sell cemetery property and of course National Guard, and so I just stayed busy all the time. I liked having that lifestyle, so I knew what it took. You know, my dad was busy like that, and like I say, the military, I give them credit for teaching me how to stay busy, stay active, stay stimulated, and stay out of trouble.
Is there a big what's your number one reason for wanting to stay busy like that?
I think my personal reason is I have a tendency to, allow things to get to me, and if I dwell on it too much, I might act on it. Like, I have been known to enjoy fighting. I don't start fights, never have, but I do enjoy a fight. Back home, if it was the weekend, you were bored. That's what you did. You fought. The guy from the next county about a girl. I lost all my front teeth in a fight at age 16, and continued fighting. And through the military, I got my teeth replaced through the military, so I had constantly had different kinds of dentures or posts or whatever. That was a real problem for me in the military because they would always fall out. I was embarrassed by it. Anyway, I digress. Transitioning from the military to becoming a civilian I didn't even have time to think about it. I think I just knew what I wanted and had the energy and the sort of experience in staying busy to continue that.
Yeah. Going back to when you said you were 16, you lost all your front teeth.
Yeah.
At that time when you were fighting, were you already wrestling at that time?
Yeah.
Did you utilize those skills in your fights?
Yeah. Okay, so that brings up the Rambo story. So Rambo was one of the big reasons I joined the military, because I wanted to be Rambo. I like the whole Rambo experience, being out in the woods, and more of a grunt experience rather than a tanker experience. But that was as close as I got. So I did enjoy Bruce Lee. I enjoyed Rambo style fighting, and fighting it in general. My great granddad was a Golden Glove champion, and in my small little town, and so I had a reputation. My whole family had a reputation of being able to fight, whether you really did or not, I don't know. But then I guess I got humbled when I was in Germany. I got my butt kicked there real bad one time, so. Then I got humbled and realized I'm not as tough as I thought I was.
What happened there?
Well, I was a bouncer in a club called the Grand Ole Opry in Mannheim, Germany, and back in the 80s, and there was a Turkish problem there where Turkish people didn't like American people, and so they would be in gangs, and they would come into these clubs and they would wear their colors. And the policy at most bars, including the one I was working at, was no colors in the bar, because you didn't want gang fights in the bar. And so they came in anyway, and I threw them out, and they jumped me after. And I was lucky to be alive after, because they didn't use any knives or nothing, but steel-toed boots and everything against the head. I rode my bike home, and I remember them jumping me, and that's all I remember. I was in the hospital for a few days, and so yeah, I think that was the most humbling experience because I thought I could take anybody. It wasn't,
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's hard when there's multiple people.
Yeah. I don't know how many it was, but.
Wow. So you talked about just transitioning out of the military, just being kind of simple for you, and then you became an architect, right?
Yeah, I got my master's in architecture, and I've been already working my way through college for different firms in Savannah, only in Savannah, and actually, the beginning of it started in 1988 when I went to work as a draftsman for Cut Art Stone Company. I was just a draftsman, manual drafting, and Cut Art Stone Company did precast architectural concrete, and we would draw it manually, draw shop drawings, shop tickets, and then we'd draw full-size patterns for the forms that the concrete molds were put in. And so you got to be real intimate with the architecture of whatever you were doing the concrete for, because you mimicked, stone on the building, coping, balustrade, whatever concrete, and then big panels, and you have to figure out where to put the anchor and how to balance it and erect it in the building. It's just a very demanding but very gratifying job. I really enjoyed that. That's what really got me hooked on the whole becoming an architect thing. And so by being a draftsman and being a draftsman in the Army, it made me have that desire to be an architect. And unfortunately, I didn't stick with that. I found that making money in real estate was more attractive to me, but I still love to draw.
Yeah. So that's what you do now, real estate?
Yep, I do real estate. I've been doing real estate. The story behind that is, so in 2006, we started kind of not living in the houses and converting them and flipping them. We started in 2006 buying houses just to rent, and so then 2008 happened, and everybody was getting in trouble with the banks because they were doing these crazy loans, and I was studying online about different ways to make money in real estate. One of the ways was to become like a rent-to-own guy. I was saving people from foreclosure, putting people in homes needed time to buy. So I was the ultimate middleman, and I acquired most of the real estate that I have today and have had over the years through that process, whether it was me buying at the end of that period of time or handing the home back over to the homeowner after they were able to handle the payment themselves, and the whole time having it covered by the tenant buyer. And I made money, and everybody knew what was going on. Knew I wasn't the owner, but that was how I really got attracted with real estate, because I realized then you could do anything you want no matter what the real estate market is. You can make money at it, make a good living at it. So, yeah.
Do you see a lot of other veterans working in real estate at all, or?
I don't see a lot. I see some of them interested in, in it, and I've had people ask me some questions about it, but I haven't really worked with anybody except for the teams here that work with veterans like we do. I'm certified veteran or military relocation professional. There's a lot of those around here, and I work with those people. With NEXP, we have a network of veteran specialized real estate agents that just work with veterans, and we do referrals all over the country. So we know how the loans work. We know how your transitions work when people are PCS and when they're not. And I do recommend if you're looking to, if you're military and you're looking to move or buy a house, to go with an agent that has the credentials of working with veterans.
Yeah, that's Yeah, I agree. You know, I've heard some frustration from some of the veterans in the market to buy having a problem with their offer because, you know, listing agents don't really want to deal with the VA or the VA loan because, you know, how strict they are.
Yep.
But on behalf of the veteran, obviously, they don't want to turn over you know, a home that needs to be overly repaired and all that stuff. And so it's great to find realtors that are specialized in working with veterans, especially if they could help put that offer on the table, right?
It helps to, I mean, the market is what it is. Whether you're a veteran or not, it is what it is. We do have kind of a veteran area, Hinesville, right next to Fort Stewart. A lot of veterans buy there, and a lot of veteran-owned sellers are veterans. So it helps when the seller is a veteran; they understand, you know. So they're more than usually willing to have patience with VA. I've got one right now that you know, the appraisal just got done. Closing's this Friday, so it's usually a lot sooner than that. But you know, it is what it is. But they're closing around here. I mean, veterans they're getting homes. They're getting in on the deals. It does help if they have some money to put over the asking price if it doesn't appraise. You know, if they've got room to add a little to it. Yeah.
I see you're wearing that shirt there, 40 and 8. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, Society of 40 Men and 8 Horses. It's an honor society, and it's from World War I. And I'm not an expert explaining it, but to me, it's a way to give back to society in an intentional way. We raise money a lot in the different events we do. We raise money for child welfare, patriotic programs, nurses programs, because we have that tie to, and you can go online and the Society of 40 Men and 8 Horses is tied to World War I in France, and the nurses in that time really helped American soldiers, and the French, you know, would. Well, let me just say this. Imagine 40 men and 8 horses in one train car. What the smell of that would be, and the experience of that. That's kind of what we embrace, is that toughness that the World War I vets went through, and what they did for this country, and the sacrifices they made. And it is also true that the French did assist us, and we did have a really good relationship together. So we just kind of we've lived that out in our meetings.
Oh, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
Can you talk about any other organizations that you know that are helping veterans, or anything else that you might be part of in the veteran community?
Well, I'm chairman of the Child Welfare Committee, and I'm newly appointed. So I don't have any, you know, guidance on it. So what I have done is I'm not allowed to advertise it yet, but I created these pocket watches with a train emblem on them, and inside it's going to have Society Voyager Militaire 567. That's what this is inside of the watch, and it's going to be something I donate if I get approval to use the symbol. Donate and raise money. So that's one kind of idea, to raise money. People do, you know, the traditional stuff, T-shirts, and we have these pins. You know, I don't know if there's any on my hat or not. Might be.
Yeah, there's some.
Yeah,
on your left side. Yeah, I see.
So we sell the pins. We do fun runs. We do Halloween stuff. We got a ballroom in this facility here with American Legion. We work closely with American Legion, and we rent out the ballroom, and we do Halloween parties, Christmas parties. We do New Year's Eve parties, balls, all kinds of things to raise money. And we've got different committees for each group that do that, and we hold that meeting once a month, and we hold each other accountable. We have a train that we're developing that's part of this whole experience. We're going to have this train in the parade, and so that's being built at actually one of my short-term rentals that I have. I needed space to put it in, so I put it in my backyard, and we're building on it slowly. Hopefully it'll be done sometime next year, hopefully. But that'll be something we can go around and make aware of us. That's really what we try to do, is make us aware, make everyone aware that we do have an organization that you can give to and that does good things like your organization is doing. And I hope to be involved in other organizations. I think the other thing close to my heart besides children is veterans that just want to, talk about things. Something else I do, I was the first Uber driver in Savannah. I was the first, and the reason I know that is because 2 weeks before they launched, I didn't know they hadn't launched, and the app didn't work. And so I ended up calling, and they said they couldn't tell us that it hadn't launched because they didn't know if they were going to get approval. But anyway, long story short, I did a lot of that on the island where I live because there's a lot of elderly people that didn't have the independence. So I would go to their home, show them how to use the app, and put it on their phone for them. And then as real estate business got busier and busier, I started giving work to veterans. So I give a lot of my rides to veterans, and some of them I get to know a little bit better by doing that, putting money in their pocket. I don't take any fee for it, and so that's been a surprise blessing there.
Wow. Be
able to offer that because I simply don't have time, and they're calling me. They call me Uber Phil on the island. so I've stayed busy. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned you do a little real estate investing. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. I have done. I haven't bought any more properties, but I did do the saving people from foreclosure, putting people in homes, need time to buy, rent to own.
Yeah.
Did a lot of that back when it was needed. Now I'm just an agent and helping out, veterans best I can. We do anybody within my American Legion that needs to buy or sell a house. We're there for them. We have other agents within our group, and we make sure that it's all fair business. It's not just one person dominating, getting all the work. So we're all good like that.
I'm interested to know if you know that, or if you know of if veterans are able to utilize their VA loan for like an investment property. I think there's a lane for that, right? And I think a lot of veterans they don't know. So I'm curious, because if there is and you know about it, I'd like you to talk about that because maybe another vet will see this and learn something new from that.
Well, I'm not the expert. The expert would be a VA lender, one that's, any lender can be a VA lender, okay? So a lot of veterans don't know that, but so any broker or any lender can be a VA lender. But the way I understand it is you can get construction loans, VA construction loans now, and you can use your VA up to, I think it's 4 times. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 4 times. And if you needed to move from your VA funded house to another house and use your VA again, you just have to have a valid reason for moving. Growing family, job moved, you got orders somewhere else, whatever it is. You don't have to sell that house. You can turn it into income property and buy another house. Just have to have that valid reason. And there's multiple valid reasons, and I think pretty much any reason you can do that up to 4 times, provided it's still up to the lender to loan you the money.
Yeah.
And I've got one lender, for example, that says he can get a loan for any veteran, no matter what their credit score, as long as, here's the caveat, they paid the bills in the last 12 months. You paid your bills the last 12 months, doesn't matter your credit, you can get a VA loan.
Wow.
And if any veteran wants to find out more about that, I'm happy to answer the question, give the number, or whatever you need there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in general, there's a lot of benefits out there for veterans that veterans have no idea about.
Right.
And I feel like, one of them being, the real estate industry and not really knowing. I mean, a lot of them know they have a VA loan option available, but they don't know that there's a lot of different
Programs.
different programs and creative ways to be able to utilize that loan. Like you just said, use it 4 times. I've heard that you can use it twice, and now I heard 4 times. Now there's just a lot of creativeness going on.
Well, the rules change all the time.
Yeah.
And in order to stay in the know, you got to be a lender, basically.
Right.
I just hear it secondhand from the lender.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, because you're trying to help these vets buy or sell and stuff, and so as they're finding out, you're finding out too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is that kind of thing. Every situation tends to be kind of unique. Everybody's got a unique situation. You just have to try to be flexible enough to work with them. If you don't know the answer, be comfortable enough to say, I don't know it yet, but I will find it out. And, then you know it after that until it changes.
Yeah. Phillip, going back to your time in service, if you were to go back to the age you were when you enlisted in the Army, I'm curious, would you do it all over again? And if so, is there anything that you would do different?
I would do it all over again, short answer. What I would do differently is, I would have tried to do more like this young person that I met recently through Uber. Their parents had me taking back and forth to different, what is that group called in the high school, where they do the military stuff in the high school?
ROTC?
ROTC.
Right.
ROTC. So I would drive him back and forth there, from the island to there, and he really asked me a lot of questions about being in the military, and he was very, very interested from day one. Maybe not because of Rambo like I was, but he was very inquisitive, and he ended up getting accepted into officers training school at I wasn't an officer, so I don't know.
The Naval Academy, West Point?
West Point, yep.
Yeah.
And so he ended up going there, and I guess I'm more wishing than anything, but wishing I was mature enough at the age that I joined to have my head screwed on as well as he did, and do it methodically. And so, not that I was willy-nilly, but it was just like, whatever. I was supposed to go in as a heavy equipment operator, ended up going in as a tanker. I just didn't have my, it worked out because I ended up growing up, ended up learning a lot just a little bit later rather than earlier. I guess that's what I would change, is do that learning part a little bit sooner than after joining the military. It still worked out,
Yeah.
But
one of the things I hear commonly from veterans is that one of the things, that they miss about the military service is the camaraderie that they built while they're in there. And really not being able to find it after getting out. That's been that's been a common theme amongst people, service members transitioning out of the military. And I'm just curious, have you been able to find that type of camaraderie after getting out of the military service?
I have, through 40 Men and 8 Horses, American Legion. Didn't think I would find it there, but ended up finding it there through, everybody has an honest, sincere willingness and eagerness to find new creative ways to give back to society. give back to vets. I think it seems very popular now to do that, but the American Legion and 48th have been around doing it for long before it was popular, and so they're kind of the leaders there in that stuff. They know what they're doing, and it just naturally happens. You just feel comfortable, and that environment is there for you to bond with somebody, or be able to just listen, or whatever you feel comfortable doing. I believe that there's space for that, and whether it's go into a barbecue, an oyster roast, a low country boil, we have those down here. We have lots of events and things that you can just come to and enjoy, even if it's a masquerade ball, Halloween stuff. It's a time and a place where you can come and feel like there's somebody there that's had the same experience as you.
Yeah, I'll back you up on that. I know I talked to you a little bit about how I just got inducted into the American Legion where I live, and I haven't been able to find a camaraderie like the military service at all. And I haven't been at this American Legion, but a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But just going in there for the induction, it was amazing. And it's like if you try to compare just randomly walking into the bar in your neighborhood, sitting down and having a drink or whatever, and then comparing it to going to not just American Legion, but any veteran organization like that, Veteran Foreign Wars, American Legion, it's just a different experience, because the moment where you're like, oh, Phillip, oh, you were in the Army? Oh, yeah. I was in the Army, or I was in the Marines. Right. It's just, there's that instant connection, and then that camaraderie starts to build back up right there. So with that, I mean, I would venture off to say that you would encourage a lot more, veterans and even younger veterans to maybe get involved in some of these organizations to find that.
I would. I think through the Uber experience, giving rides to fellow veterans, I've noticed that some of them, really open up if they find out you're a veteran, and they really want to. It's just like there's something stopping them from taking the next step, and it might be just somebody just giving them a call. And I'm guilty of not following up enough, and I think a lot of veterans are not. We're all absorbed in our own lives and things like that, and it takes a gathering of veterans like this, intentional gathering, to make us aware of stuff, and opens our heart to needs that are out there. There's a way that I might be able to help you. It might not be financially. It might be just giving you an Uber ride. It might be just listening to you, or inviting you to something, or asking if you want to be a part of the 48.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
one thing I will say about that is it doesn't matter if you're an E4 or you are a major in the Army. I think you've got an interview coming up with a friend of mine who was a major in the Army, and she is just, a major in the Army, but she makes you feel like you're on the same level as her, and so you meet people like that at these events, that they don't care what rank you were or what you did in the military or whatever. It's just you're welcome, and it's nice to be welcomed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've had that experience with other interviewees and stuff, where they're saying, I was a captain here, and it's like, and I'm just like, oh shit, like, I'm supposed to get up at the POA right now.
Yeah.
But when you're out and you're on a more human level, it's just it's a different type of camaraderie, when kind of that you guys experienced kind of the same thing, while in the military. So that's awesome. Well, Phil, we're getting ready to cut this tape, man. But before I do, I always ask, if there's anything that you wanted to say or talk about that you didn't bring up yet.
Might be some parts you have to cut out of here, because because my mind's going everywhere right now. I think there's just the main purpose of this interview and, you know, organizations like yours is there's some good to be done, whatever it is, and being very general here, but I think it's just pay attention to other vets, stop and listen and observe, because, you know, maybe by observing a veteran you can stop something from happening, you know, like suicide or something like that, and you know, just by showing you care. That's what these organizations do best. I think that it comes down to, you know, making you feel at home, comfortable, part of something bigger than you, which is why we join the military a lot of times. I'd say get involved and help support other veterans. That's kind of cliche. I know everybody wants to do that, but you know, if you start doing it, I think it'll be a life-changing thing that you'll be glad you did and never forget.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. When I, you know, one of my favorite things that you said during this interview was staying busy,
Yeah.
but also doing things with the purpose. And you know, when you're doing a service for other people, you know, for me, I manage PTSD from combat and all that stuff. But when I'm doing things like this and helping other people, in my case, other veterans, some of that just goes away because I'm serving a bigger purpose and it helps manage it. It's better than any medication the VA could give you. You know, when you see the face on another veteran after you've helped them, or you know, or you're attempting to, you know, it's pretty indescribable. It's pretty awesome. So, well, thank you for being here, Phil. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it, brother.
Happy to have it. Thank you for the interview, and hope this reaches a bunch of veterans and helps a lot of people.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more.